Thank you, Steve, and thank you again for coming to the State of the Cities presented by the North Hennepin Area Chamber of Commerce. Always a great opportunity to get up to date on what is happening in these four great communities. And as all of you know, a lot has happened over the past year. And looking ahead, a lot is going to happen. So we have an opportunity to hear from each of the four mayors. They have been given 10 minutes, but as you know, the mayors love to talk when they get the microphone. So I will be keeping time, but very loosely. So if they happen to go a few more minutes than 10, we'll give them the opportunity. It's only once a year they get to present this. We will hold questions to the end of the presentation. So if we do have time at the end of the program and you have questions, we will try to answer those. To begin, alphabetically, we head to the City of Brooklyn Center. Please join me in welcoming Mayor Tim Willson.
All right. Well, welcome everybody. I hope you're here for lunch. I hope you're having a good time. And I'm here to bring you some news from Brooklyn Center. We'll have other mayors that will come up as well. And I do want to recognize Mayor Hemke, who is here as well from New Hope. So it's good to see you, Mayor. City of Brooklyn Center, my name's Tim Willson, and I have been its mayor going on 10 years this year. So. Brooklyn Center, in the past few years, we've been really excited about how Brooklyn Center continues to do redevelopment in our city. We've had numerous changes to our community. We have even gone to, this year, changing and adjusting our priorities to further look at resident economic stability, strengthening and empowering youth. Some of you know that we have the Brooklyn's youth organization that we have been working real hard with. Brooklyn Park is a member with us as well. And youth is our future, and we are trying to do as many things as we possibly can to give the youth in our cities work skills and be ready to go into the workforce in a few years. But some of the things that have really stood out to us, at least in Brooklyn Center, is the positive feedback we received from our customer services. We have taken great pains to enhance our services, to recognize our customers, and to provide services that our customers want and demand. Our customers, as is in most cities, and I'm sure most businesses, they want us to be fiscally responsible. They want us to continue to foster resources to achieve our priorities in an efficient, safe, effective manner. Our property tax levy this year increased by 2.9%. Again, this year it's fairly low in the whole scope of things. That will meet a residential property increase in taxes from anywhere from $0 to $450 in a year's period. We also, for a number of years in a row, have received a clean audit opinion from the auditors, which is good. We know that financially we're sound and financially we're on the right track. We continue to see significant redevelopment. It's one of our highest priorities in Brooklyn Center, using and redeveloping underutilized, undervalued sites, transforming them into higher uses. And basically what that means is we have sites where they're not being utilized to their full potential. We, as a city, wind up acquiring them, preparing them for redevelopment, brown space, if you will, and working with various then vendors to redevelop those sites. We've welcomed the Luther organization, and they're on Brooklyn Boulevard and 9610 or so, or not 610, 94 or so, and I think we finally run out of land that we can have one of their dealerships come into, but their latest one has come in, and it's the Volkswagen dealership. If we can find some more land, I'm talking to the Luther organization and telling them they can bring as many in as they like. So. We have a new Minneapolis business center right on the end of, is it Osseo Road, I think it is, Brooklyn Boulevard. It's gonna be the Ferguson companies, it's a fire systems. We have a new Millennium Academy that's coming in as well, where Malmberg's used to be. Construction will start there, they'll be opening up soon, within the next year or so. And many other businesses have built add-ons or remodeled, one being cast screw machine as well, products. They have been a very good supporter from a business perspective of Brooklyn Center for many, many years. I have to make sure I'm in sync. We are about strong neighborhoods and opportunities. Our housing market continues to recover at an encouraging pace as housing values continue to increase at higher rates than the average in the metro areas. Many of these homes were significantly remodeled, similar to homes we've remodeled under the NSP program. We have implemented a number of different programs in Brooklyn Center and encourage new home ownership, new young people moving in. That has been working out fairly well. Strong Neighbors and Opportunities, our renew and rebuild programs have provided infill housing development opportunities throughout the city. We have been able to acquire, for lack of a better term, blighted properties, turn those into spaces where now we're seeing developers coming in and building new homes, and significantly higher priced homes. It's very nice to see that turnaround within the city, and we're gonna continue to work those programs. Those are construction houses by private investors and moving new families in who are working with those investors. Houses continue to sell quickly on the market, and prices for the most part have sold at somewhere around the $250,000 mark. So we see good growth, we see good economy, and we see good city government. We are creating outdoor spaces. Some of you have probably heard that we are engaging our citizens. We've created new outdoor spaces for community faces. We have our Earl Brown Heritage Conference Center. It has a new outdoor patio that's built in for gatherings, weddings, all of those things. It has pergolas, fire tables, planters, seating areas that are ideal for intimate gatherings and events. It's going to be available now starting in 2016 with this summer session. And we have over 40,000 square feet at our disposal in the Earl Brown complex. So it gives us some good options, and at this point in the city's life cycle, I guess you'd say, we have a few dollars we can rub together, or a few coins we can rub together to make some of those things happen. So. How am I doing, Dave? Close? Another very exciting development in Brooklyn Center is the new amphitheater. I've talked about it before, that during our 100-year celebration, we had a citizens committee come forward and raise the funds to build this amphitheater. It now is up. It's been dedicated. This summer will be its first summer. We'll have many activities in that amphitheater. The construction, from my point of view, has turned out very well. It's in a park where there used to be a berm. If you stand in that amphitheater and you look out across that park, it's this huge open vista. It just really turned out nice. So, this summer, when the schedule comes out and you have a free evening, come to a concert or come to a gathering there and enjoy the weather. So. We are about people, as are most people. We have a very diverse community. We have a lot of immigrants that live in our city, lower income people, people who need assistance. We also, though, are working on inclusion and diversity. We have an initiative going with committee and individuals that'll be working on that, per se, commission, I guess. And we're actually kind of excited about doing that. We know that in Brooklyn Center, people who have the skin color I have, and most of us here have, are in the minority. And when I say we're in the minority, I mean that people of color from all across the spectrum are in that majority of citizens in Brooklyn Center. We have, over the years, welcomed immigrants. We welcomed any individual to come into Brooklyn Center. We have affordable housing, we have great services, and we're there to work for our residents and encourage our residents to come to Brooklyn Center. So. A couple of other things we've done. We've implemented now a Safe Summer Nights where the police and fire personnel serve meals to community members in August. We think the people at the Safe Summer Nights program who donated time and money, Casker was one of them, have helped us build another very nice community event. And as we go through and do these types of organizational things, we're building community at every step. We've recently had our first Coffee with a Cop event at the Caribou headquarters in Brooklyn Center, in informal setting with police officers, and if you know Caribou, some really great coffee that comes out of that shop. So. We've implemented a Brooklyn Center University where we have staff members at the director level from every part of the organization in Brooklyn Center who are giving presentations to basically students in that university and showing them how city government works, educating how their tax dollars are being spent. So we also have had the opportunity, as has Brooklyn Park, to honor and help a sister city in Liberia. Banjima in Lofa County, we were able to repurpose, rejuvenate a fire truck and donate it to our sister city. My understanding is that it's the first major emergency vehicle that that county has ever had. And I take some pride in that. I know our city does as well. I've been to Banjama in 2014. I see what they have for, or the lack of, for equipment and pieces, and what they subscribe and subsist on. If you ever get a chance to go to one of the West African countries, really look closely at the difference in their lifestyle versus our lifestyles, and you'll see an extreme difference. On the other hand, there's some great people there as well. I met a lot of nice people, a lot of great friends. So. We're working with Success for Our Youth. I mentioned the Brooklands Bridge Alliance for Youth. Brooklyn Park is with us, as is a number of other organizations, colleges. Somewhere I saw the Osseo superintendent over here. She is with us here today too. She's also on our board for the Brooklands Youth Alliance, and remains a strong partner with us there. Another thing we're going to do in 2016 is we have gotten a youth recreation and sports program. We've gotten a grant from Hennepin County, somewhere around $65,000, to purchase a van to take activities out into our communities and into our parks where our citizens actually are, rather than the opposite, where our citizens and their children are expected to come to City Hall. Well, now we're bringing City Hall to them. And we're kind of excited about that program. We'll see how it works out. Next year when we're here, I'll talk about it more, and we'll see how it did turn out. So. Quality of life. We, in the summer of 2014, were informed that Brooklyn Center's water condition had a very high concentration of manganese. Some of that was due to recent studies, scientific studies, where that threshold was lowered, and rightly so, for young people, for children, for elderly people. So we took the extraordinary step of putting up a new water treatment plant. And I have to tell you, to get that done in a year and a half is for city government, is moving very fast. And that facility now is up, it's running. Manganese is being tested on an annual basis. It's at a negligible level at the moment, along with iron. And we've moved that into a wish and a hope to something that now is operational. And last, I must be getting close, but not least, I'm so grateful for all of you here and your assistance and the goodwill of this past year. It is with your support that we continue to see more successes in the upcoming year. On behalf of all of us at Brooklyn Center, we wish you a safe, prosperous, and wonderful new year. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Willson, and we're going to tap dance for a minute here while the mayors do have some lunches. They're just at an opposite table here, so we'll get them moved over there. Mayor Willson mentioned the Brooklyn Center University program, and we had the pleasure of being out and talking with Kurt Bogany earlier today, the city manager of Brooklyn Center, about that program. And I know many of the cities have something like that, like a leadership academy, where it's an opportunity for roughly 8 weeks, 10 weeks, depending on the city, to learn a little bit more about the internal operations of a city. So I encourage you, if you're in Brooklyn Center, to talk to Kurt about that. It's only $25 for the 8 weeks, so it's a great opportunity, and I'm certain the other cities have that opportunity as well. All right, we've made the shuffle here. Please join me in welcoming Mayor Jeff Lunde from the city of Brooklyn Park.
I'd like to thank everybody as well for the opportunity to take a few minutes, go over my time limit, of course. That's our habit here. And kind of walk through what the city of Brooklyn Park has been doing over the last year. I think obviously we've been in the news a lot for development. That is kind of driving our city as we start to become more developed. We still have lots of land left. If you go down 610, you will see a few changes if you haven't been here for a while. If you haven't been there down the last few months, there will be more changes. This last year we welcomed a few different companies at the business parks on 610, and we're starting to get a flavor of international companies. So Worth Adams from Germany, Nilfig from, I believe they're a Danish company, Olympus, a Japanese company. And so we're starting to get a good situation. And myself, having worked in international sales, I know that these things can become a critical mass where when brokers who are looking for sites for international companies, they tend to look areas, and as they start to see a pattern, they start to go back to the area and see why are other international companies moving there. And so we know that as we acquire and people decide to make that decision to move to Brooklyn Park, that creates more likelihood that other international companies, and they come to the Twin Cities to look, will do that. Between the total of all these companies, probably about $110 million of investment, about 1,100 jobs, which is what our goal is. Our goal is we want jobs. We've said no to a few different things that involved lots of empty buildings with boxes. We have a warehouse district, but we're not interested in that. What we're interested in is, as I like to say, the butts and chairs. We want people working in our city. We want people who are going to be part of our community, who are going to shop, eat, and we think that we're on that way. Other international companies, Hy-Vee's from Iowa. I don't know, it's up to you guys if that's international or not. Sometimes it feels different, but they are Iowan, so just to clear that up. So they'll be opening, I believe, in the spring, early summer. We're excited about that. I think they've got a couple stores open all over the place, and New Hope, I think, is, and so I've been down there. I had to check it out, of course, and so we're hopeful because what you may not know about Hy-Vee and what's interesting to me is they employ 400 to 500 people. It's not, when you go in there, they have a lot of people on staff, and so those are real jobs, and there are opportunities in an employee-owned company. So I think that people who start there, it's an idea of not just work there until I go to college, just work there and I have a career. Just recently, we had Takeda announcement last week. Pharmaceutical, which is the largest Japanese pharmaceutical company, has decided to invest. What's nice about that, we've had a couple investors in that building, is that they actually have approved pharmaceutical lines that FDA approval, which means they can start making them. So we've always been kind of on that where they've done research and we hope something goes right and that this will result in all this investment. This is the first time we've actually had somebody who's moving lines in here. It'll take a couple years. They hired the staff that was there. And I think that, I used to, when I did business in Japan, you tend to find that Japanese companies like to co-locate. And so you will find out more of that. I'm so good I don't need a presentation up here, I can talk.
You can continue, Jeff. It's on the
Okay.
side screen as well, so you might have to turn your head.
No, I'm good, I can talk all day long, so. We're excited because last week I had the opportunity to have lunch with Governor Dayton, Lieutenant Governor Smith, Commissioner D. Clark Sieben, and staff from Takeda and also Mayo Clinic. And it was interesting to me in that room and talking about the direction of Minnesota is we are a world leader in medical technology. That is not the same as pharmaceutical. That is an industry we are not nearly as we're not a leader at all. And so getting this in here becomes a building point where that with the Mayo Clinic, with the U of M, you start to talk about, we start to getting pieces together and companies start to locate another completely different industry. They're talking about that place about genetically making drugs that are made for certain people. So instead of going to the drugstore and buying something because you have a headache, they will do a genetic makeup on you and start to understand that maybe people from Japan use different, their genetic makeup needs different types of pharmaceuticals. And so in that regards, we can start to talk about medicine that's tuned for a person, not for the masses. And so that's the exciting part of what things are working on. And it was great to be in that room when we were talking and understanding that Brooklyn Park has an opportunity. I think that obviously the Northwest Metro, that when we start to talk about people having opportunities to do different careers, that we can do that as well. So that's better. Now we have no screens. So anyway, it was a good conversation. It's a strategic initiative of the state. Obviously, it's okay. And with that, thank you very much. And I thought Dave was going to give me a different signal. I didn't know it would be the turn off the cameras first. And, if I only knew who owned this place, right? So the next few slides, they're about great things, billions of dollars investment since you can't see them. And I think what we've been talking about now is light rail. And over the next month, the community has to come to what's called a municipal consent. And I believe it's on January 25th. Looking for Kim for confirmation, so I don't give the right date. We're going to do a community meeting, start to have people talk about that decision. It's not insignificant. Even though we've been planning for years, it's still a big decision. We have 5 stops in our city, at 63rd, at Brooklyn Boulevard, at 85th by the college, at 93rd, and out by 610 by the Target campus. Each one of those creates different opportunities. The one on 85th, we have opportunity. I think that taxpayers always say, why can't government work with other government? And so we've been starting to have meetings with North Hennepin to talk about partnerships at different levels. That stop is going to be mostly we're hoping for students to get off and on. And that is good because in the southern part of our city, we have people who suffer from what I call an opportunity gap. They don't get access because they don't have reliable transportation to get to jobs, to get to education. And so we look, even within our city, the light rail line is going to give people the chances to do different things. So again, on the 25th, we're going to do public comment. I think a lot of people are like, just vote already, for God's sakes. For 2 years, we've been talking about this. You've had lots of meetings, but that's been good because we've learned lots of things. And so as we continue to walk down that path and continue partnerships with the Met Council, Chair Dunn is in the back, this is a big deal. It is a 100-year decision. It's not a road. At the end of the day, we look at it as when people get off the airport and they look at the light rail and they're trying to figure out where they are. Brooklyn Park is going to be at the end of one of those rail lines, and that's where we want to be. We know that's important. So we have some really great pictures you can't see, but that's okay. It's only a fire hydrant, so it may not sound that exciting, but we've been trying to find kind of unique and identifying ways to empower neighborhoods to take ownership. And so we've had a few people, we've had adopt a fire hydrant and people will dress them up. I'm trying to find the picture of the person who made their fire hydrant look like a Packers fan and then let their dog express his displeasure. So we're hopeful. That is not on here. You're not missing that one. I would wait literally an hour to have that picture up there. We've also talked about things. This year, we're on track to have the lowest number of crimes in our city since 1986, despite having roughly 25,000 more people. We think that's awesome. I can't imagine what it was like as things were, I think as crime was really starting to grow, but we've got it to a number that is less than it was at that time. And what I always like to point out, because I know there are a lot of people, even though I know Minnesota nice, people like to associate diversity with crime. We are 3 times as diverse as we were at that time, which would mean crime, diversity have no correlation. Because we are more diverse, we have less crime. And so we look at that as an example of when people like to say things that aren't supported by facts. I present to you that is fact 1 in our city, that we can prove that that is not the fact. And our police are using intelligent policing, things like not just talking about neighborhoods that have higher crime, but streets down to houses. And so we've been working with on a grant that allows us to really fine tune and take a look at how we can be innovative. And the results of that, I believe, published this year, or the results will be kind of gathered. And you'll start to see Brooklyn Park in the national news because we're the only city on this grant showing that what you can do if you start to really bear down into what is crime happening, where it's happening, you will find out that most of your crime in any given city, there's a pretty small area that has it, and you can get down to actually street level and find out that on this street. And so we've been discovering that even on streets with high crime, there are good people living there, but they don't feel empowered to do anything. So what we've been trying to find those good people, give them the support to help police their streets. They'll let us know when things are happening, what is happening, and we know that allows us to be more effective. So this year was, personally, it was interesting. I think for the city, it was really great. We were invited to take part in My Brother's Keeper initiative at the White House, and really take part in a program that's President Obama's initiative about how we deal with those gaps between young boys of color, that would be Hispanic predominantly or African American, and look at those, where those different levels are, at each level, where these gaps start to get wider. I know Kate at the school district, they can track, they can know when things, if kids aren't reading by 2nd grade, odds are they're not going to be reading by the 3rd grade. And so you start to look back and go, okay, what led into 2nd grade, them not reading? What was in 1st grade? What was at home? What was going on? And so trying to find these things, find out where cities can partner, where cities can make a difference. Cities can't do everything, but we can find partners who can. And I think more than anything, it's an awareness in our city that there are things, small things that we can do. We can't solve everything, but we can certainly be specific and focused and fix some of these things. Later that spring, we also took part in a national conference on after schools at USC with the Schwarzenegger Institute. Probably not 2 things you would think you'd see in a conversation, Arnold Schwarzenegger and the University of Southern California. But what was interesting was that he's raised $1 billion over 25 years for after schools. And he's been doing it well before he was a movie star. He does it because it's passionate, and it's just amazing. We were out there, we had Google, we had Twitter, we had a lot of West Coast companies, very different than the East Coast, and we were talking about the things that we're trying to get done and taking part in that panel. And I think that is a realization that one of our dreams at Brooklyn Park was to be a leader, not just locally, not just state, but also nationally, that we think that we're bending the curve on some of these tough items. We're still not fixing things, but we're getting there. So I've got some great pictures of two guys. I'm gonna ask to stand up instead. This year was some changes in our staff. I think with success, we look at there's opportunities for people to move up. And so we have new people coming in. And so I just wanna make sure I introduce first Jay Strobel, our new city manager. And then Eric Hansen, who's in trouble because he didn't show up. But anyway, so it is our quota. We've hit 2 hires from City of Minneapolis. We're done for the year. But no, I think what happens is we're starting to get access to talent from Minneapolis and St. Paul because we're doing some big stuff. The LRT is not an insignificant project. It has taken a decade of planning. And so we know that you need people who have been through that, who understand the process, who understand working with Met Council in the state. And so what we've tried to do is go out and get some more people who have strategic visions of how things can work. So, and there they are. So with that, I'll wrap up and thank you again for your time.
Thanks, Mayor, and I'm sure if you'd like to see the rest of the slides, you can stop by afterwards and take a look at the computer here, and they will be up. Let technology happen here. We will move a little bit to the west in the city of Maple Grove. Please join me in welcoming Mayor Mark Steffenson.
Well, thank you, everyone, for being here today. It's my pleasure to make this presentation again this year on behalf of the city of Maple Grove. This year, we have once again seen a number of milestones and changes in our city. This year, I think that a couple of the ones I want to highlight for you are the new community gymnasium at the Maple Grove Middle School that we did in conjunction with the school district. Our fire department had its 40th anniversary. We added a new city council member, Judy Hansen, and we added a new city administrator, Heidi Nelson. And Heidi Nelson's here today with us, so Heidi, if you could please stand. As many of you know, our long-standing city administrator, Al Mattson, retired after 32 years with us, and one of the things I failed to explain to Heidi is that once she agreed to be with us, she was with us for the next 32 years. Yes. But we're very excited to have Heidi with us, and we look forward to her working with us. Obviously, we had a number of projects that were completed, a number of new things that happened in our city throughout the year. One of the highlights is the new Park Necklet Regional Medical Center. It's going to be their regional surgical center along with a large complex for their doctors. I'll talk a little bit later about 610 and the continuation there, our new Central Park, and a lot of other wonderful things that are happening in our community. But really, I think one of the main things I really have an obligation to report upon is the financial highlights of our city. This year, you're going to see the vast majority of our homes and commercial businesses are going to see actually a decrease in their property taxes for 2016. Our property tax levy was actually one of the smallest increases of any of the suburban communities. Standard & Poor's has once again reaffirmed our AAA credit rating. We're one of the few communities in the state of Minnesota that actually maintains a AAA bond rating. Of course, this bond rating relates to not only a great community, but it helps us financially as we are able to get lower bonding costs for the various projects we have to do throughout the year. Our budget this year went up by a little bit less than 4%, 3.58%. Because of our continued growth and because of other things that happen, our tax levy goes up less. And as you can see from the slide here, actually our property tax levy went up 2.49%, or a little bit less than $2 a month for the average home in Maple Grove. Maple Grove continues to see significant housing growth in our community. Last year we saw about 388 actual units that were built in our community, a lot of single-family homes. We continue to be one of the largest and fastest growing communities, not only for single-family homes, but also for multi-unit developments as well. Last year we saw a phase of the Sky open up, and this year we also saw the new senior facility at Silver Creek. And this upcoming year we'll see the continued expansion of the Sky with their new project being developed along with some other residential developments that we know are in the process of coming forward. Some of the residential developments, just so you can attach a name to them and sort of the places. The Bottineau Ridge concept is another expansion in the downtown Maple Grove area. The Donegal addition is out in the northwest part of our city. The enclave of Rush Creek is actually a new area of development in our city up by Elm Creek Park Reserve, sort of up near the Dayton border. And then obviously we continue to see more expansion of the sky as well. We continue to see significant business growth. Our business development continues to happen. We have significant additions to our community. One of the interesting aspects that's noted here that is going to be very interesting is the new Children's Learning Adventure Center that's being built right now off of Bass Lake Road and 494. It's a new concept that is throughout the country, but essentially it is a very, very large children's learning center that will be located there, and will have a lot of very interesting aspects, interactive aspects for your child to use throughout the day when they're essentially at childcare. One thing that I obviously always have to talk about, because it's still around, it still hasn't been completed, is Highway 610. The good news with Highway 610 is that it was in the corridors of commerce expansion. And so because of that, for the last year, we have seen significant work on Highway 610. And this time next year, the connection to Highway 610 will at last, after 40 years of work, be completed. For our citizens in the northwest communities, not only Maple Grove, that will be a significant addition. It will allow us to travel straight across the northern part of our communities and attach ourselves to either I-94 or 35W on the east side. It's a significant development for all of our communities because it'll certainly open up these corridors, as they're called, corridors of commerce. You've seen from the presentation of Mayor Lunde what the business development has been along 610 in Brooklyn Park. And we in Maple Grove anticipate that this corridor, this area, will see that type of significant development over the next 5-10 years in our city as well. And some of the other aspects here, just so that it's clear, is that we do need additional funding to complete this road system as it was designed. The connections in the yellow and the red on the map are actually the remaining portions that are left unfunded, and we're continuing to work with our federal and state authorities to try and make sure that this road construction just simply gets completed and lasts, after 40 plus years of work, that the last road on the original metropolitan road system is actually completed. There's also been some other significant roadways. You can see here the 610, it's going to be open. But the other things that I think are important for our citizens are not only the expansion of Lawndale Lane that's now open down to the Wayzata High School through the western part of our city. We also will see next year the completion and expansion of Vicksburg Lane going south through Plymouth, and the new bridge that will exist over the railroad in Plymouth will certainly help all of us. And the other thing that's noted here, I think that is very, very significant for our community, is at last the third lane on 484 is being built. Many of you have known that this is a bottleneck. It's been historically a spot on the road that every single morning of every single day you wake up and you look at the news and realize once again 494 is stop and go. The third lane is now open going south, and my office, my law office, I look over that road every morning. I don't think there's been hardly one morning since the road opened up that there's actually been a bottleneck out there. And so for our citizens, it's saving us certainly a lot of time in our lives to have this road open and functioning the way it's meant to function. But it also is great for our businesses because they can now have a dependable route, their transportation works better, their employees can get to and from work easier, and it's a great completion in our city, and it shows what sometimes expansion and completions of sort of bottleneck areas in the transportation system, you fix them and all of a sudden the system works. We had a lot of new businesses that opened in Maple Grove throughout the year. I don't want to spend too much time on too many of them, but certainly there were a couple that created more notoriety or publicity than others. Our Omni Brewing opened up. They are a local tap house. They are a business that has now opened. And the other thing that I think sort of caused some expressions of concern in our community at the time was Total Wine. Obviously, they have brought a different concept to the liquor industry into our community, and if any of you were in the area over the holidays, you know how busy they were. As I mentioned earlier, Maple Grove's Fire Department celebrated its 40th anniversary. We continue to have a significant number of calls as our city continues to grow. They are up year over year. They continue to grow as the city continues to grow. And one of the things that I want to make sure everyone knows is that we have a very active, what I'll call a smoke alarm program for senior citizens. We actively engage in helping them to make sure that their smoke alarms are functional and available for them. Throughout the year, our police department, our statistics show that the Part 1 crimes are down significantly year over year. I think great news is that we once again placed first nationally in the National Night Out activities. I think the National Night Out activities are incredibly important for our community because it lets the neighborhoods get together, see your neighbors, meet your neighbors, and I think it really helps create not only bonds within the community, but I think it really helps people understand, you know, sort of who lives in what houses and sort of who to expect in the neighborhood. It helps you be more aware of when people are in your neighborhood that maybe shouldn't be there. So that's a significant event every year, and it continues to grow, and we're very proud of that. One of the things that happened this year, as I mentioned earlier, is the new community gymnasium. It's a great new facility that was built in conjunction with the school district. It provides 3 additional full-size courts, so that the facility now has 5 full-size courts plus. There's 9 new pickleball courts, and I have to admit I've been told I have to come play some mornings. So it's obviously an activity that has grown by leaps and bounds, and it should be fun. It's a great new facility. It's hosted a lot of national AAU events already. It's a great facility for our school district to have for use for its basketball programs as well. And certainly it's something that we are, as a community, very excited to have. And finally, the last thing that I really want to talk about here today is our new Central Park. I don't know how many of you have been over to see it, to visit it, or to enjoy it, but it's a great new park. It has great facilities for both winter and summer. It has new basketball area, new playground area, new central lawn that's a massive, essentially green area to come out and enjoy yourself. There's a formal wedding garden. There's trails for walking and biking. There's extensive landscaping. As many of you have seen on TV recently, there's a beautiful ice skating facility there, an outdoor refrigerated track. So we will have ice skating there from the early November up and through the end of March every year. And I think last weekend alone there were there's a couple thousand people there on Saturday alone. So it's a beautiful new facility and something that we as a community are very proud of. And I think that one of the best ways to see this new park is to see, hopefully, the new drone footage of the park. And this is a splash pad area as you see out front. It's a 20-minute program of splash pads. There's a huge new playground area with rock climbing walls and other interesting new playground equipment. That is the ice oval or the ice track that you'll see there that's refrigerated. It's essentially a quarter-mile track. So you can see that this is our new wedding formal gardens. You can see that the city has spent a lot of time and effort conceiving of this idea. It's in an area of downtown Maple Grove where we have now, as you can see, had significant new apartments and condominiums coming into our community. And we think by having this large concentrated central park in the middle of our community, it adds a great set of futures not only to that sort of neighborhood, but to our city as well. And we certainly think it has created another great element to make Maple Grove one of the best cities in the country. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor Steffenson. And I do understand that after hours or on weekends, you might be able to see the new city administrator skating around the ice loop as well, right, Heidi? So she'll show off her skating skills there. Finally, to the city of Osseo, please join me in welcoming Mayor Duane Poppe.
Well, thank you for having us here today again and talking about this great city of Osseo. As you see by the logo there, you know, we've redesigned the logo, you know, even though we're the same great city. We got rid of that chicken on a stick or whatever that old logo we used to have. So try to update it, tie it together with a little community with the school and also the water tower. So it's the new updated look, but yet, you know, we're still the same old great place. Oop. There we go. You know, a couple of the things that, you know, we really work on as a city is, you know, kind of our continued financial stability. Because rewind the clock a few years ago, and I mean, things were in tough shape. You know, I mean, you look at kind of the reserve funds and kind of the outlook on things, and we really didn't have a plan. So that's one thing, you know, as a council, we've really worked hard, you know, really over the last 5-6 years to kind of put the city back on solid financial footing. You know, so I mean, we're constantly updating the financial management plan and the capital improvement plan that, you know, it's really kind of serves as kind of the Bible we use as we look at different projects and how are we going to pay for these, and really what does it mean to the city and the taxpayers, you know, downstream, and kind of what our decisions today, what effects will they have in the future. And that way, you know, because we're pretty small. I mean, we have a limited land mass. I mean, if you look at Osseo, we're 0.7 of a square mile, so just under a square mile, with a quarter of it that's non-revenue producing. We have to produce enough revenue from that to provide all the city services. So, and that's, you know, really the challenge, is to be able to keep it competitive on a tax basis, but getting still high quality services that our residents, you know, expect and demand from us. You know, and really in our budget is about a third LGA. That's local government and aid that comes from the state. So, I mean, it's very near and dear to us, and I mean, as the discussions at a capital level about LGA going away, I mean, it really has an impact on us, and that's really been a goal of the council as we looked on our financial management plan, was to say, you know, let's figure out how to take that out of our day-to-day budget and really look at how can we move that all into funding future capital projects. So that way, I mean, if it does go away, then we can go to the state and say, well, you know, we can't build the roads, buy police cars, fire trucks, all that stuff. We're going to need to be part of a bonding bill. So, I mean, we've made a conscious effort to every year kind of tweak the program, and our goal was by, you know, 2017 to be able to run the city on the taxes, and we're right on track to be able to do that. So, I mean, that's a huge significant step in case that ever does go away, and that we're being fiscally responsible of the monies that we do raise, you know, from the taxpayers. You know, so as you can see, 2015 was the 8th straight year that we're able to have our projected fiscal budget was under what we projected, which is significant. I mean, and what that's done is really allowed us to put the city on, you know, better financial footing, and we've really been fortunate with keeping the expenses below what our budget is, and actually having higher revenue, significantly higher revenue. And a lot of that from development has really helped, you know, shore up the footings. And from the city of Osseo, we've gone from an A rating to a AA-. So we've jumped 2 steps up based on our fiscal responsibility that we've shown, and be able to, our reserves and everything else. And there's some additional things we continue. I mean, we really kind of, the goal is, you know, kind of move the needle up to a AA, and then eventually a AA+. You know, probably based on our size, or some things we probably won't be able to get probably past a AA+, just from oversight and the amount of staff that we have on site. So as we talk, you know, our strong fiscal management, it's, again, our budget increase this year is going to be 2.24%, and that's all going to go to as our move to funding more of the capital improvement project. You know, so I mean, we keep everything flat or down, and we've lowered the tax rate for the citizens of Osseo, we've gotten some pushback from people as they get their tax bill and look at it, but we say, you know, my taxes went up 20%, and we'll say, well, it's not from us, and we said, well, what's the, how much is the home of your value of your home gone up? 20%. It's like, well, there you go. It's a correlation, you know. If you stayed same, you wouldn't pay any more, so. But, I mean, we've been really, I mean, that's been really a thing of the council is really try to, you know, be wise with the tax dollars that we raise, because, I mean, they are people's precious dollars. And as I said, you know, we've been very fortunate for us, little lowly Osseo. I mean, we had $37 million of investment into our little town last year. You know, so I mean, it's been projects, you know, that we've really worked, and we've taken a look at from a council's perspective is, you know, we were sitting on a lot of EDA-owned land, you know, that's Economic Development Authority. A lot of land that the city owned, which wasn't producing revenues, wasn't helping at all, because for future development, some of that future development they have owned since the 60s. And it's like, well, what good is that, you know, as we continue to pay out on those? So we've really, it's been a push from the council to say, how, you know, what makes sense, what fits in the comprehensive plan, and how can we get these vacant parcels programmed and basically creating revenue for us. You know, and the big one that, you know, everyone sees is the 5 Central project. I mean, that was significantly huge for us. I mean, and everyone says, well, you know, it's 140 units, not that big a deal, but I mean, for us in Osseo, it is a big deal. Once the apartment is filled, basically it changes the population 10%. So I mean, that's the significance of what that development did for the city of Osseo. And you hear the shop owners up and down, the restaurants, Dean's, supermarket, and some of the businesses, they said, we've noticed an increase. You know, and that's really it, is a lot of those businesses, you know, it's basic 101 economics. You gotta have rooftops, you gotta have bodies around those, because people aren't gonna drive by 6, 8 different same store to get to your one, you know, even though you're downtown. So, I mean, it's been a kind of a nice, you know, addition for all the businesses downtown. You know, and then we had ceramic industrial coatings. You know, they put on a 10,000 square foot expansion. One of, you know, our great businesses in town expanding, wanted to stay there. I know they looked elsewhere, but they said, you know, is there a way that we can work this deal out here? So we're able to work with them and be able to expand it, working with Hennepin County in a storm sewer, and it was a lot of different moving parts, but we're able to get that done. Roshan Corporation, I'll talk about that in a little bit. The Gun Club, you know, and then Villas of Osseo, that expansion, that's a 20-bed kind of short-term care. So if you bust your hip or need some rehab, you can go there. And I would say that's the nicest build-out I've seen in any place at Osseo. I mean, it's really Class A facility. So if you have anybody, you know, any loved ones want a nice, high-quality facility, that'd be a good place to go. And what's nice is when the Villas took it over, now they're planning on then going systematically now through the building and adding those finishes, you know, because it's the old Berkshire residence that, you know, frankly needed some updating. So it's going to be a big win once that's all done. And then we've got a new retail center, then the 3-on-3 hockey rink, which is we spend an awful lot of time there. Our team is there almost once a week. I'm coaching my son's team, but it's been a great addition. I know the association, it frees up some ice time for us, so our kids are out skating more. And then I know that they've worked with the neighboring associations, and that place is booked almost all the time, and they did a really nice job. So that's been a great addition, you know, to Osseo. And then, of course, you know, the police department addition, that was much needed. Again, our temporary housing of them in a old house next to City Hall that was moldy basement and bats in the attic. Was time to give them a professional facility to work out of. So Roshan Corp, that was really, you know, that's the building that's right across from the post office. You see it going up right now. And again, that was a local contractor. You know, they've done a bunch of different buildings around. You know, they did Noble Academy there north of St. Vincent's Church. I know they've done some things in Champlin, right where by the Dairy Queen. So they're very active, you know, in the area. I think they're doing some stuff in Brooklyn Center down by France and 100. So local developer in town, and they're out of Plymouth. And I know they were looking around in the market. And one thing that really drew them to the city of Osseo is kind of that small town, really family-friendly atmosphere. Because it was interesting when Jeff Wellman was introducing everybody on the groundbreaking, as you see in the photo there. It was kind of interesting. It's like, you know, here's Dave, it's been 15 years, and here's Sue, she's been here 26. And I mean, it was like, everyone was like 15 to 30 years they've been there. So that company itself is a really family-friendly company, and people go there and they stay there for a really long time. So, and that's one thing that they liked, is kind of that feel in downtown Osseo. So that's gonna be opening up here in June. So, and then they'll have 2,500 square feet available on the ground floor, kind of right in the corner as you see there. So if you know anybody looking for any office space, we got some extra in Osseo. And that was the last piece that the EDA owned, so that was significant too, to be able to get that off the books and then actually producing some revenue. And then last year, if you ever drove through town, we did a big mill and overlay project. Again, you know, we milled and overlaid half the streets of Osseo last year. And what was kind of significant about that was that these roads hadn't been touched since the early 90s. They were just kind of patched, and I mean, they were terrible condition. And we just kind of, you know, spray patched them, and hopefully would survive another year until we could get it figured out. So we milled and overlaid half the city. And so from that, and the streets we had done the next couple of years, you know, we've touched about 75% of the roads in town. And really, we're on an 8-year project here now. Over the next 8 years, we hope to have all the roads touched, repaired, underground, and really put an emphasis on our infrastructure, because our infrastructure, you know, again, wasn't touched. And there was really no plan to get it done. So, I mean, we're trying to, you know, take things one step at a time. Although we'd like to do it all at once, we just, you know, obviously don't have the resources. And what was nice about the mill and overlay project, because there were capital improvement plan and the money that we're putting in there, we're able to do a bond inside of the capital improvement, so we didn't have to assess for it. You know, so it was just monies already set aside going in that project. We're able to accomplish that, so it lessened the increase in burden, and plus the low interest that we're able to receive. It just made sense. So next year, again, we've got another big street project. Like I said, this is first step in an 8-year cycle that we're gonna hit all the streets. And I mean, it's utilities, and we did a map of all of our underground utilities and looking at the street conditions, and then we programmed them out based on which ones are worst and which ones needed to get work. And of course, we're adamant about none of those better get milled and overlay if we're gonna touch them in the next few years. I said, we're not gonna do that and dig roads up. Nothing drives me nuts than inefficient government. So we had about an 8-year plan, like I said, and this year it's about three blocks and of all the underground sewer work and some alleys as we look. We're, you know, updating our alleys. You know, we do have a couple of new faces. We've got a new city administrator, Mr. Grams. He's here if you want to wave to everyone. You know, he was our he was our city planner originally, you know, and then we promoted him up through the ranks, and he was assistant city administrator to Doug Reeder. Doug Reeder retired, and then since Heidi left Wayzata, he said, well, I don't really want to retire. It's just closer to my house. So now he's down in Wayzata. Can't get rid of that guy, you know. But you know, so he keeps moving around. But you know, Riley's done a great job stepping in, you know, and help kind of shepherd the city. And also too, since we had the vacant role of planner, we have Nancy Smaybeck here, also our new planner. And she'll have a new name this weekend because she's getting married, so congratulations on that. So we're waiting for that. So just kind of some highlights from 2015, you know, our continued local business expansions. I mean, that's been big as we try to, you know, homegrown our stuff and keep them going. The upgrade of the city streets and utilities, you know, maintain really a strong development, you know, environment. And we're just looking now is kind of, where's our next projects? We're looking at some different stuff that, you know, is lagging behind or kind of been sitting there, and trying to figure out, you know, how can we get this bigger and better and getting more tax revenue? Because that's ultimately, you know, and continue to, you know, watch the pennies. And then, you know, bigger and better community events. You know, we had the car show, we had the Lions Roar, you know, which is always big. You know, the Mini Dazzle, which kind of kicks off the holiday season first week in December. And then we also, this year, the Osseo Fire Department did turn 100 years old, and they were the only fire department up in here. So we had a big, you know, kind of a town party for them in June. So everyone's like, maybe we should do something like that every year. So look for that maybe in the future, who knows? But, 5 Central Police Department and, successful, transition to the new city administrator and city planner. And of course, I'd be remiss to, give the speech without talking about the Class A state champion Orioles. It was a great game. I mean, phenomenal. I mean, they went down, scored with 24 seconds left, kicked the extra point, won the game, and then, of course, do an onside kick to seal the deal, which was pretty fun to see. And, I mean, it really, and the thing with that, every playoff game they were behind, and they came back and won. And really, that's kind of the epitome of the Osseo spirit. We're down and out. People count us out, backs against the wall, but we continue to find a way to kind of figure it out and keep moving on. Because a few years ago, it wasn't that long, they said, so you're going to become Brooklyn Park or Maple Grove, which one it is? And I mean, here we are today, still scratching and clawing and getting a better bond rating. And what's nice is we did receive an award for our downtown, the Sensible Land Use Coalition Great Place Award. So the award was given to places located within Twin Cities that exhibit excellent making place and overall design. So Osceo's downtown is a place, great community feel with ample landscape to soften the hardscape and a lovely central park and great small scale. So I mean, that's really kind of that hometown feel. And then as we're looking and keep an eye open where our park is downtown. The city has now have acquired 3 of the 4 houses on the backside. So eventually, next couple of years, we're going to turn that into one city block park right in the middle of downtown.